We are fresh coming back from NAB New York, where we had an amazing show with our partners here, Miri and Ryan Brenneman. We want to discuss a little bit about some of the challenges that you may encounter at these trade show environments. And they are plentiful, aren't they?
They are plentiful. Like, number one, the NAB New York was our launch. So, when we look at that, we don't get a lot of time to get into these venues and do a lot of pre-things because it's setup days. We have to travel into the venue. We had been at Javits before in the early days of prototype router, so we felt pretty comfortable. But as our launch, we needed to perform really well. And as suspected, we did. For the entire trade show, we routed video from Las Vegas over Magewell encoders to decoders from Magewell inside of their booth. That's where we were located at. And we were moving 4.5 megabits of video flawlessly for the entire event. And the challenge for many other people were the fact that they couldn't even get a web page to load inside of their booths.
Even load your email.
Correct. I mean, so many people, as we were walking around talking about the router and people were coming over to see it, they were just amazed that our entire booth was operating from the router. And it wasn't just routing video. We were pulling up user manuals online. We were, getting them access into the Magewell website to find things for when they got back home. So that was just like one small component of it. But the trade shows are challenging.
You got a big cavernous room. You've got hundreds of people. Sometimes no cell service at all.
Sometimes, and a lot of times, there's active things to kind of limit the RF inside these facilities because one of their revenue generators is selling you really expensive internet.
Yeah, how much does an Ethernet drop cost?
From years past, we can tell you several $1,000s for like a 4 megabit connection. It's insane what happens sometimes at these trade shows in terms of like what the cost associated is and the connection speeds that you're getting. But where else are you going to go? It's not like, you can
it's your only
call
option.
Up fiber service.
Well, up until this point, it was your only option.
Correct, right. So, this was something that we're hearing from a lot of people. How can they connect to the venue's services if available? So, in this particular case, NAB New York, we had the router connected to both the public Wi-Fi for NAB show, which is the guest one. Then we connected the other Wi-Fi radio because there are two built inside this router, a 2.4 and a 5 gigahertz. We connected the other radio to the Javits open Wi-Fi network that's behind a captive portal. And so those were like not great connections, but
1 and 2 megabit.
As you know, when we can stack these together with Speedify, now we're starting to work with something. So we had the 4G SIM, the 5G SIM, we had 2 hotspots tethered, and we had a phone tethered as well. So in total, we were looking at that show at 7 connections in various configurations. But between those 7 is what allowed us to be able to perform the way that we did. And as we walked around, people were basically like, do you have another router with you?
How are you doing anything?
Correct.
I need this at my booth.
Router? Yeah. Hey, and it's available. Head over through the Speedify store. Go to speedify.com. There's links for accessing to be able to purchase this router. But this is the thing that I think that many companies who attend trade shows will just look to deploy. It's super easy to get this thing inside of a small Pelican case. You can put on 2 batteries for backup power or whatever that case might be. They are hot swappable. And it's just a versatility because many of these places will have a guest network for you to be able to go to. And we experienced this at Vid Summit last year. We were in Dallas inside of that venue center in, is it Irving? There's a steel cage that's built around this entire thing. So we're standing on the second floor and you're looking at your phone and you're like, I have 1 bar of service in downtown and I don't understand. Well, it's because they built this cage around the thing. So we had to connect the router to that venue's local Wi-Fi, who thankfully had a great connection, but it's behind a captive portal. So yet again, how are you distributing internet that's publicly available to you across your entire network locally? Maybe you are running software of your own or need to access websites. Not every computer can connect to those networks. Maybe that's a security problem. You just don't want that PC connecting to some public network that malicious things could happen. Well, how do we stop that? We put them here because now we're creating kind of that break between
firewall,
the two networks.
Behind the encryption.
Exactly. So there's a lot of people who are very interested in that.
Well, something I want to touch on too is that unlike other devices in this category, this is a full-blown router. It's not just a bonded video encoder.
Right. So if you have a just off-the-shelf encoder and it's not of the bonded variety. Well, once it sits behind a router, it instantly becomes a bonded encoder, right? At a much greatly reduced price. The other thing is that all devices within there then inherently have the benefit of being bonded as well, because it is a router. So you can do things like assign static IP address leases. You can set DHCP ranges. You can have multiple different access points on the router itself, and it has a really great front screen where you can even show the QR code, and somebody who's working in the booth can literally just pop up the QR code, and it's literally as simple as that right there. It's super easy to use. It's got a great web interface to be able to assign all the various settings to it. It's just, and one of the things that I love, there's a config port on the front. And this is like one of those little features.
Yep, just it's a
little thing, because you're
icing on the
always
cake.
like, how do you get into the router to be able to configure those things? Well, the fail-safe is built right onto the front of it. You take a USB-C cable, plug it into a computer, open up a web browser, and go to its static IP address. It's like an out-of-band, essentially, IP address, and you will always, always, always hit the IP address of the device to be able to make those configuration changes.
Awesome. Well, yeah, that's the Miri Router. Absolutely essential for trade shows.
I think so.
Thanks for watching. If you want to see more discussions like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button.